Is a front-end web developer the same thing as a software engineer? This is something I think about when looking at job roles, when I introduce myself or my job title to others. Do I say I'm a web developer or a software engineer? And after doing some research and looking online and reading some other job roles, I think these two are different things. A web developer and a software engineer essentially are two different things. And hear me out. Let me explain where I'm coming from. So web development is different from software engineering, and I kind of have a bit of an old school mind about this, but a piece of software is something that's built for a native machine. So it could be built for Windows, Mac, Linux, and it's something that's built with a compiled programming language. So you end up with an executable that you can kind of double click on or run, and it will open a native piece of software. So in my head, a software engineer has built something with, say, C, C++, Rust, Java, something like that, and understands the principles of software engineering, so object-oriented programming. They understand how memory works, how things are compiled. They understand about data structures, that sort of stuff. And a web developer, I'm going to focus on front end because that's the area that I have most experience with. A web developer will more focus on how to create something that will work in the web, specifically for the browser. So they'll focus on an interpreted language like JavaScript, and they'll make something that looks good and works in the web. So this could be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They understand the CSS box model, understand how to make something responsive, and performant on the relevant device. Now, this is not to say there isn't crossover between both roles. I'm sure a software engineer will also make API calls, the same as a web developer, to get data to display on the app or website for the user. And both roles know about unit testing, know about integration testing, and that sort of stuff. But I still think they're two relatively different roles. And I think this article puts it best. So this is a post from Code Academy, and the quote goes like this: "Web developers are focused on creating browser apps with a combination of client-side and server-side programming languages. Generally speaking, they are involved in designing interactive websites and building user-facing applications." Whereas a software engineer, so I'm moving on to the next paragraph, software engineers are more likely to work on computer systems as a whole. They develop standalone programs and apps to help users perform various activities. For the most part, they program, document, test, and maintain software by using the best practices in DevOps. So they sound similar, but a bit different, and I hope I'm getting that difference across to you in this video. Another reason I want to create this video and talk about these differences is because of a job posting, or specifically multiple job postings I've seen on the Amazon website. So let's have a look at this role. I won't dive into it too much, but this top bit talks more about Amazon's history and all that stuff. I'm going to focus more on the basic and preferred qualifications. As you can see, they expect a degree in computer science or related, which most development jobs require. But look at the second point. So strong experience in architecture and building multi-threaded distributed systems. So right off the bat, you know that's not a web developer because JavaScript is single-threaded. So that kicks them out. Third point, strong knowledge of data structures, algorithms, big O analysis. That's big O notation, time complexity. These are the sort of things a web developer doesn't need to think about too much. They can be a good web dev, build a great app without knowing these things. Now, of course, knowing these things will make them a better developer and they can create a better app, but they don't need it. Whereas a software engineer, I would argue, needs this knowledge. Now, if you move on to another role by Amazon, again, I've scrolled down to the preferred qualifications and you can see here, experience using React Redux, experience with command line tools, all the stuff about front-end testing, UX patterns. Now, this is different from what we've just read before. These two roles have very different expectations, but the titles are both the same, software dev engineer. This is something that Amazon seems to do for all their software roles. I don't know if this is specific to London, but as you can see, all of these are software devs. And you don't know specifically if it's for web or if it's for native, unless you click into it and read the description a bit more. And this is not something I think is right. I think if you want a web developer, then go ahead and put web developer. If you want a software engineer that knows data structures, memory management, big O notation, all that stuff, then put software engineer. I don't agree with combining the titles or calling all developers software engineers because there are differences. And I think going forward, unless I am confident with knowing the kind of software engineer methodologies and that stuff, I wouldn't call myself one, and I don't think it makes sense to. So basically, if you're a front end or a back end dev and you are going around calling yourself a software engineer, it's up to you. You can do that if you want. But keep in mind that a software engineer is expected to know certain things that a front end developer doesn't need to know. Anyway, thanks for watching or listening. I hope you found this useful. I hope you got some more understanding about job titles and roles from watching this. Please like and subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you in the next video.